To them, she was just a quiet woman, an outsider in their world of giants. But they would soon learn why they called her Falcon. Her hunt was silent, her strike was lethal, and you never saw her coming. The salt-laced wind off the Pacific whipped across the Coronado Naval Amphibious Base, but Anya Petrova seemed not to notice. At 5'5", with a lean, wiry frame built for endurance rather than explosive power, she was an island of quiet stillness in a sea of masculine energy. The other candidates for basic underwater demolition/SEAL training, Bud/S, were a collection of collegiate athletes and decorated soldiers, men carved from granite and ambition. As Anya slung her duffel bag over her shoulder, she felt their eyes on her, a mixture of curiosity, disbelief, and outright skepticism. Her presence was an anomaly, a question mark in a world that dealt in exclamation points. She wasn't one of them, and she knew it. Her world hadn't been football fields or weight rooms. It had been the dense, fog-shrouded hollows of the Appalachian Mountains in West Virginia. Raised by her babushka, a woman whose sharp blue eyes held the ghost of a past life as a Soviet reconnaissance scout, Anya's childhood was a lesson in silence and observation. While other kids played video games, her grandmother taught her the language of the forest. She learned to track a deer not by its prints, but by the subtle disturbance of a spider's web. She learned to move so quietly that the squirrels wouldn't stop their chatter. Her babushka's most important lessons were about patience. The most dangerous hunter in these woods is not the black bear who roars, she would whisper, her voice raspy like dry leaves. It is the mountain lion you never see, the one who watches for hours, who knows your habits better than you know them yourself. Patience, Anya. It is a weapon they will never expect. That weapon was tested from day one. During the brutal physical conditioning, she struggled with the raw power exercises. But on the long runs across the soft sand, when the giants began to labor, her steady, rhythmic pace carried her past them. It was in the cold, churning ocean that the first real flicker of her potential was seen. While muscular men fought the relentless currents, Anya seemed to merge with them. She used the ocean's own energy, flowing with the rips and swells instead of battling against them. After a grueling 5-mile ocean swim, she emerged from the surf, not first, but far ahead of men who had been competitive swimmers. Chief Petty Officer Rodriguez, the lead instructor whose face seemed carved from old leather, watched her with a new, calculating expression. He saw not a struggling woman, but an operator who understood a fundamental truth of their world. You don't defeat the environment, you become part of it. The whispers about her started to change, from doubt to a grudging curiosity. The true test came during a land warfare exercise deep in the forested mountains of Camp Pendleton. The objective was simple: navigate a 20-mile course through dense terrain, hitting specific checkpoints without being detected by a team of seasoned SEAL instructors acting as an opposing force. Anya's squad was led by a former All-American linebacker they called Rhino, a man who believed speed and aggression solved every problem. We move fast, hit the points, and we're out before they know what hit. Rhino briefed the team, his voice booming with confidence. Anya remained silent for a moment before speaking, her voice calm but firm. They'll be expecting speed. They'll have the obvious fast routes covered. We should move slow, unpredictably. Rhino scoffed. Slow gets you caught, Petrova. This is a race. No, she countered, meeting his gaze without flinching. This is a hunt. And right now, we're the prey. She then demonstrated what her babushka had called the ghost walk, a method of movement so attuned to the natural rhythm of the forest that it was nearly imperceptible. She showed them how to time their steps with the rustle of the wind, how to use the shadows of the canopy, how to listen for the forest silences that signaled another's presence. The team was skeptical, but as the hours passed, radio chatter confirmed that other squads were being systematically captured. Rhino's confidence began to crack. Reluctantly, he ceded navigation to Anya. She led them on a winding, seemingly illogical path, sometimes waiting in complete stillness for 20 minutes at a time, simply observing. They moved like mist through the trees. They were close enough to one instructor patrol to smell their coffee. yet they remained unseen. They were the only squad to complete the course. As they reached the final checkpoint, they found Chief Rodriguez studying a map. Instead of announcing their arrival, Anya led her team to circle around him, positioning themselves silently on all sides. She waited a full minute before speaking. "Looking for someone, Chief?" Rodriguez spun around, his hand instinctively dropping to his sidearm before he registered who it was. A slow look of disbelief, then profound respect, dawned on his face. He had been so focused on the map, listening for the sounds of an approaching team, that he had failed to notice the 5 operators who had materialized around him like ghosts. He looked at Anya, not as a candidate, but as a weapon he was only just beginning to understand. Hell Week descended like a physical manifestation of every candidate's worst fears. Of the original class, only a fraction remained. 5.5 days of non-stop, freezing, brutal conditioning on less than 4 hours of total sleep. The program was designed not to test their bodies, but to shatter their souls. Anya's smaller frame was a distinct disadvantage in exercises like log PT, where teams carried massive, waterlogged telephone poles for miles. The sheer weight threatened to crush her, but her team, now believers in her unique strengths, adjusted their positions to help shoulder her load. Rhino, the man who had once doubted her, now growled encouragement when her legs buckled. Her moment came on the 3rd night, during the infamous surf torture. Linked arm in arm, the teams had to lie in the frigid surf as waves crashed over them for hours. Men were quitting, their bodies succumbing to hypothermia, their minds to despair. But as the waves hammered them, Anya's mind went back to the Appalachians, to her grandmother's lessons. She felt the rhythm. "Wait," she yelled over the roar of the ocean. "There's a pattern. 3 big, then a lull." She began calling it out, her voice a lifeline in the chaos. "Brace! Brace! Brace! Now breathe!" Her squad, and then the men next to them, began to follow her timing, bracing for the impact of the big sets and using the lulls to recover. She had turned an instrument of torture into a predictable challenge, giving them a small measure of control that was enough to keep them going. The defining moment of her journey came during the final night's long swim. In the pitch black, freezing water, she found Thompson, a teammate who had supported her, disoriented and panicking. She was on pace to finish well within the time limit, a personal victory. But without hesitation, she swam to him. "Thompson, on me," she said, her voice a calm anchor in his storm. "Follow my stroke. We finish together." She guided him, fighting the current for 2, pushing her own exhausted body to its absolute limit. They stumbled onto the beach with only minutes to spare, collapsing on the sand. Chief Rodriguez was there. "You risked your own success for him, Petrova." "What?" Panting, she looked up. "He's my teammate, Chief. We don't leave people behind." Rodriguez simply nodded. It was the only answer that mattered. Surviving Hell Week was a rebirth. The remaining candidates were no longer individuals. They were a brotherhood, forged in shared suffering. In the advanced training that followed, Anya's true purpose began to crystallize. The skepticism was gone, replaced by a quiet respect. In the precision shooting phase, she was a natural. Her babushka had taught her to control her breathing until her heartbeat was as slow and steady as a winter creek. Under the simulated stress of combat, with instructors screaming, smoke grenades popping, and blank rounds firing beside her, her accuracy improved. While other shot groups spread wide, hers tightened into neat, deadly clusters. The senior marksmanship instructor, a legendary master chief, watched her on the range and declared, "That's not something you can teach. She's a natural-born sniper." Her tactical mind was just as sharp. During a simulated hostage rescue mission, each candidate was given a turn to lead. When it was Anya's turn, she was assigned a heavily fortified building. The other candidates had planned aggressive, dynamic entries. Anya's plan was different. It was a study in patience. She spent hours briefing her team on a plan that relied on exploiting a 10-second gap in guard patrol overlaps and using the building's ventilation system for a silent, vertical entry. The mission was executed with the precision of a surgeon's scalpel. They were in and out with the hostage before the role players on the opposing force even knew the building had been breached. Observing the exercise was Lieutenant Commander Thorne, call sign Ares, the commander of SEAL Team 3. He had seen hundreds of trainees run this scenario. He had never seen it done with such flawless, silent efficiency. After the debrief, he pulled Chief Rodriguez aside. "Who is she?" Thorne asked, his eyes fixed on Anya. "That's Petty Officer Petrova," Rodriguez replied. "She thinks on a different wavelength than the rest of them." "I want her," Thorne said simply. "When she graduates, she's coming to Team 3. For Anya, it was the ultimate validation. She had not just survived, she had been chosen. Joining an operational SEAL team was a different kind of test. The men of Team 3 were seasoned veterans, a tight-knit clan bonded by combat. Anya was the new variable, the BUD/S prodigy with a growing reputation but zero real-world experience. The team's veteran communications specialist, a man known only as Cable, was professionally courteous but deeply skeptical. He believed in proven methods, not unconventional theories from a rookie. The final test came during a pre-deployment exercise, a 72-hour covert surveillance mission on a simulated high-value target's compound. Anya was paired with Cable. She selected their hide site, a small, seemingly insignificant crevice in a rocky outcrop overlooking the compound. For 2 days, they remained motionless, observing, documenting. On the final morning, disaster struck. A hunter patrol, an elite team tasked with finding them, was sweeping their sector. Cable, monitoring their movements on his gear, saw their path would take them directly over their position. "We're blown," he whispered, preparing to bug out. "Pack it up. We have to move." "No," Anya whispered back, her voice unervingly calm. "Moving is what they're looking for. Power everything down. Now." Hesitantly, Cable complied. Anya pulled a dusty camouflage tarp over them, artfully arranging loose rocks and scrub brush around the edges until their hide site was indistinguishable from the surrounding terrain. They became stone. The patrol approached, their boots crunching on gravel just feet away. One of the men stopped, leaning against a rock not 10 feet from them, to tie his boot. Cable's heart hammered against his ribs. He could feel the sweat trickling down his spine. But Anya was perfectly still, her breathing slow and even, her eyes open and watchful. After what felt like an eternity, the patrol moved on. They had never been seen. Back at the debrief, Cable was quiet. Later that night, the other team members found him staring at a map. "What's up?" one asked. Cable shook his head in disbelief. "I've been in 100 hides. I've never seen anything like it." It was like she wasn't even there. But her eyes, she saw everything. The way the lead man favored his left leg, the type of non-standard radio the third man was carrying. She just watches, like a bird of prey, circling so high you can't see it, patient, seeing every detail, waiting for the one right moment. He paused, searching for the right word. "She's not just a sniper. She's a hunter. A Falcon." The name stuck. From that day on, she wasn't Petrova anymore. She was Falcon. The legend was forged in the dust and chaos of a real-world deployment. Their target was a master bomb maker, a ghost who had eluded capture for years, leaving a trail of death in his wake. Every attempt to track him had failed. He was a master of counter-surveillance, seemingly able to sense when he was being watched. At the Joint Special Operations Command briefing, generals and colonels debated new tracking technologies and aggressive raid plans. When it was her turn to speak, Falcon stood before them and proposed something radical. "We need to stop hunting him," she said, her quiet voice commanding the room. "He's better at being hunted than we are at hunting him. Instead, we hunt his needs." She laid out her theory. The target, for all his skill, was still human. He needed specific, rare components for his devices. He needed to meet with his financiers. He needed a trusted doctor. Instead of chasing a ghost across the country, she argued, let's identify the few wells he must drink from, and let's watch the wells. It was a massive gamble, requiring extraordinary patience. But with all other options exhausted, General Harding, the commander, gave his approval. For 6 long, grueling weeks, Falcon and her team conducted this silent hunt. They didn't move. They just watched. A black market electronics dealer, a remote medical clinic, an old smuggler's safe house. Team morale frayed as the weeks dragged on with no results. Then on the 43rd day it happened. The target appeared, just as Falcon had predicted, visiting the electronics dealer. Her real-time intelligence was so precise, detailing his vehicle, his security team, even a bag he was carrying, that a nearby Delta Force team was able to intercept and capture him and his entire cell without a single shot being fired. The intelligence gathered from that capture dismantled a network that had plagued the region for years. Falcon's passive hunting strategy, soon dubbed the Falcon Doctrine, was adopted into the Special Operations Playbook. Back at base, as she prepared for her next mission, she saw a new class of BUD/S candidates learning land navigation. Their instructor was quoting from a new manual, a manual that spoke of patience, of observation, of becoming the ghost in the forest. Her legacy was already beginning. The journey was far from over, but she had proven what her babushka had taught her all those years ago in the Misty Mountains. The most powerful weapon is the one your enemy never sees coming. The world now knew her name. Falcon. What did you think of her unconventional methods? Her story is a testament to a different kind of strength. Show your respect for operators like her in the comments below. And if you believe that intelligence and patience are the ultimate weapons, hit that subscribe button and share this story.